The podcast you are about to listen to contains at least one of the following: strong language, disturbing topics, abusive opinions, generally things that aren't appropriate for little kids or overly sensitive people. So, if any of that stuff's going to get your nose out of joint, this is your chance to turn it off.
Feelings don't matter, so brace yourself tight. He'll lay it down heavy, he'll light up the night. No sugar-coated tales, just cold hard facts. In the realm of opinions, there's no turning back. Listen closer, just walk away. But Aaron had to say it, come what may. Here comes Aaron with the truth untold. No holding back, watch the truth unfold. On the podcast airways, feel the righteous sting. You either take it in or let the silence ring.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of I Had to Say It. So we're going to start out by saying to Iceman, Jason, Miss Aaron, Mike Tabby, Javier, Fitz McShane, Al Jefe, El Devlin, El Morte, the guys at the Weathered Report, to Billy G, and to Walt from the Be Raw Podcast. Thank you for your continued support. You guys are the wind beneath my kilt. All right, so anyway, as we're going to get this episode started off, we're getting to that time of year where it's like, okay, Spotify is putting out their annual Wrapped thing. Now, for those of you who don't use Spotify, this is a thing Spotify does every year. It puts out, what your most listened to songs are, the amount of time you spent listening to music, your podcasts, what kind of podcasts you listen to, your preferred genre, all kinds of information about your listening habits, which, really shouldn't surprise anyone that they're collecting all that data on you as you're doing stuff, and I'm sure it helps them target their marketing better. But they also, for the people who host with Spotify, put out Spotify Wrapped for podcasters, and I happen to host with Spotify, and because it's free and you get what you pay for, so I don't bitch too much about the problems that go behind it. But at the same time, it's kind of interesting. They show you some metrics, and their metrics are a little weighted because it really only measures the stuff that is directly trackable through their service. So people that listen on Spotify is what they base their answers off of. And it tells you, how many of your listeners you've had, and how many your most popular episode, how many of your listeners you're a number one podcast for them, or you're a number 5 podcast, or you're in their top 10. And it gives you all these really weird metrics. And I suppose it's supposed to be a flex, but in a lot of ways, like for me personally, it makes me kind of go, maybe, I should hang it up because. I mean, I hate to sound like, I've said this repeatedly. I don't do this for anything other than for myself. I don't make any money at it. You want to get technical, I actually lose money. Even though all these wonderful people I name at the beginning of the episode are, supporting me and helping me out and, giving me that little Patreon or buy me a coffee scratch and, signing up to be members and support the show. And I, like I always say, I really do appreciate it. But honestly, at the end of the day, I have more subscriptions than I have subscribers through Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee, so it's really a net wash for me. I'm still all these podcasts that I listen to because I got into podcasting. I try to support the ones I can, and sometimes even the ones I can't. And that being said, it's it's like I said, for me, it's a net wash. I'm not, but the point is, I'm not doing this to make money because I'm not making any money. I'm doing it because it's therapy for me, because I enjoy it, because I like the idea that there's people out there that look forward to hearing from me on a semi-regular basis or fairly regular. I am in the higher percentage bracket of unpaid amateur podcasters when it comes to how regular I am with delivering an episode. I'm pretty damn good about not missing a week here and there. And partly at least, that's because I want to keep going, because I've seen there were a lot of shows that I really enjoyed, particularly with the podcast boom of the COVID days, where there was a lot of stuff that I thought was really good shows, and they all were subjected to what the community refers to as pod fade, where they just kind of fell off. A lot of shows I listened to on a weekly basis were part of my routine and gradually just faded away, whether it was multiple individuals on the show and that just sort of lost interest and kind of trickled off, or had fallings out, or the show broke up, or that just ran its course and people had to just kind of move on, or they just went back to work and didn't have time for it anymore, because this can actually be a really consuming hobby in terms of, you have to record the episode. A lot of the, other podcasts, people that aren't me, I don't equate my experience to really what anybody else has to go through, because based on literally everyone I've spoken to that is a fellow independent podcaster, people who don't pay other people to edit their podcast, people who don't have a staff, people who don't have oh God, I can't think of the guy's fucking name at the moment. I'm blanking. An assistant to throw up clips and throw up video bits into their streams and things like that. Like Rogan and all the other big guys have an editor and somebody who does all this stuff, and so-and-so cut that out and blah, blah, blah. And, those of us that are doing it all ourselves, it can be extremely fucking consuming. It can be very time consuming. It can be resource consuming. If you want to buy decent equipment so you have good sound quality, that can be expensive. Unless you're like me and you're extremely fortunate where you have somebody really cool hook you up with a really cool piece of gear, and you're a insanely cheap bastard by your nature, so you find the way to crawl through the internet and get stuff for cheap. I mean, the vast majority of my setup, the best piece of equipment I have was donated to me by a wonderful human being who thought I'd put it to good use. Russ from the Infectious Grooves podcast, which is no longer an active podcast, but still has an extremely awesome YouTube channel on it. And I recommend, if you're not listening to them, if you're not checking out Russ's videos, and his wife Lauren makes a lot of the videos with them now. And if you're not watching these videos, you're fucking missing out. Russ is an amazing dude. Lauren's an awesome woman. They are wonderful, amazing people together, and they put out a fantastic quality product, and you should really check it out. It's over on YouTube, Infectious Grooves. It's fantastic. They do, album reviews. They do concert reactions. They do all sorts of stuff. It's really cool. You should be checking it out. But I digress. Beyond that, like I said, I cobbled my setup together on the cheap, monitors from auction websites, actually my PC from an auction website. The most expensive piece of gear that I actually paid for was this microphone, and it was actually a gift from my wife to me. So, I mean, it's only like technically, I only can say I paid for it because we paid for it, because my wife and I don't have, separate accounts. It's not my money and her money. It's our money. And, I said that sounds kind of hokey and stereotypical, but that's the way the fucking world works. When you're in a partnership, when you're not, doing your things separately, we don't have separate bills. We don't have separate expenses. It's all both of us, getting through this together. And if that's not how you do things in your relationship, it's not my place to judge. Whatever works for you, whatever makes you happy, whatever's most functional for you guys, rock and roll. Fucking do that. But I digress. I'm getting off the point here. So yeah, I was looking at my Spotify Wrapped, and the number of downloads, and honestly, in the last few weeks, things have been kind of tapering off too. I mean, the last few episodes have not gotten nearly the amount of plays that. Not that I get some massive amount of plays to begin with, but the plays have been kind of, falling off a little bit, and I've got my handful of regulars that I can pretty much count on are going to listen to every episode. And that's, hasn't been a lot of growth, hasn't been a lot of development. There's not a lot of people out there hopping on the Aaron bandwagon, and it is what it is. I don't begrudge people that. I'm still, like I said, I'm still doing this for me. I'm still doing it because in some weird way I enjoy it. It's some sort of masochistic thing where even on days where I don't really have a whole lot, framed up, I don't have a lot locked and loaded, particularly these last few weeks. And maybe that's why the listens are dropping off. Maybe the quality's going to shit. Maybe I'm just not the ranty, blathering asshole everyone's, come to expect lately. It's a possibility, but ultimately, like I said, that's why I'm one of the most consistent levels of doing this, because I don't want to pod fade. I don't want to just. It would be so easy to just say, well, I'm gonna switch to every other week until I get my inspiration back, and then next thing you know, it's like, well, I missed this one, but that's okay. Nobody's really listening anyway, and next thing you know, the show's gone, and it's. When I feel it's run its course, I'll put a bullet in the back of its head and be done with it. But I don't want to fade. I want to go out on a high note. I want to go out cussing everybody out while they're coming to fucking arrest me for offending the wrong fucking people. And maybe that won't be happening for at least 4 years, because, it seems like like I've said repeatedly when discussing politics and social structure, the pendulum seems to be swinging back the other way. And the woke, ridiculous, screaming liberal horse shit is not as weighty as it was in the past few years, and that's a good thing. I really honestly believe closed-minded, screaming, childish tantrums are never good for society, and that's the direction we were heading. And in some places we still are. I'm still stuck in a commie shithole state. I mean, granted, it's not California, and it's not Minnesota, the California of the Midwest, but it's still pretty fucking bad. We're like number 3 on all the negative metrics for measuring the country right now, which is phenomenal. Number 3 in people moving out of the state, number 3 in the level of taxes. It's fucking ridiculous. But, you know, maybe that jelly-filled fuck muppet of a governor will finally step up and accept my challenge. Because I've actually been posting on social media. Like, every time I see a post from him come across my feeds, I'm just like, hey, look, you fat jelly-filled fuck muppet. I'm a fat fuck, too. You and me need to have a charity boxing match. 3 rounds, 3 minutes, proceeds from the gate, and, you know, we'll live stream it. And whatever money we make goes to the winner's charity. And as out of shape as I am, I'm pretty confident I could take him. But I'm also 100% confident he'd never fucking accept the challenge because he's actually a cravenly horseshit bastard. Even though he's trying to say he's fighting for his population, he's going to fight Trump and he's a warrior and da-da-da-da-da. And that fat fuck is no kind of warrior. He's a fucking craven little fucking nutball who uses his family's accrued wealth to try and foster off his brother's mental illness on the country as being regular and normal. But again, I didn't really mean to bitch about that fat fuck this episode, but as usual, you know, I go where the consciousness takes me, and that's just the way these episodes go. Sometimes I have notes, sometimes I have actual ideas I want to talk about, sometimes it's just whatever's rolling around in my fucking head. And in this particular instance, over the weekend, I actually have something to talk about from over the weekend. I put a hitch in my own routine. I did not do things the way I normally do things. I'm paying the penalty for it now. It's life as it goes. But I wound up, instead of doing my usual record on Sunday, come back on Monday night and edit with fresh eyes, I wound up saying, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and get things done early on Sunday, and then I'm going to go hang out with the guys from the Weathered Report and join them on an episode because I was very generously invited to join them. So I did. And I didn't get shit recorded on Sunday. So I'm actually recording this Monday night after a full day of work, after not a lot of sleep because I was hanging out with the guys from the Weather Report, you know, Bruce and Ken and Justin, and it was a good time. And yeah, no, it's Jason. It just, if you follow the organization, you'll get the joke. But anyway, so yeah, we had a good talk. Everybody's talking about what they're doing, upcoming holiday stuff. Ken's got his stuff. They're all entrepreneurs. I'm an aspiring entrepreneur that keeps having, little setbacks. But they're talking about what they're doing, upcoming holiday sales. Bruce has his gut health stuff that he's got some deals going on. Ken has art. He's got wonderful new adult coloring books, which I highly recommend to everyone. Go pick up a couple. They're great gifts. If you haven't seen, I'll check out my socials. There's pictures of the last coloring book he did from Inktober last year. He was generous enough to give me a couple, and he's actually going to be sending me some items to give away to you guys again this year, because he gave me some stuff that we gave away in some listener contests last year, and we're going to do the same thing again this year. They're going to do a drawing for the Patreon subscribers, and I'm going to do a couple other things, depending if I can actually get you fuckers to give me some engagement here. And I'm not trying to berate you or make you feel bad, but that is honestly the biggest complaint I have with the show, is getting feedback and engagement outside of a small handful of people is fucking impossible with you guys. I get like Billy and occasionally Duchess comments on the episodes on Spotify. I got my people that I talk to on a social, my friends that I've made because of the show that I talk to on a regular basis that actually listen. And the rest of you random fuckers, because I know there's more people than that actually listen based on the download numbers. But getting you fuckers to engage is fucking ridiculous. I'm here giving you really cool free shit, and it's like pulling teeth to get anybody to fucking participate in these fucking little drawings and stuff. I don't understand who doesn't want free shit. But anyway, I'm not really here trying to lecture you guys, but I'm just trying to give you a little frame of reference. So I was up late last night, bullshitting with those guys. Had a full day of work, got to work late for various reasons, so I stayed at work late because, I try to make sure my employers get their money's worth out of me. And I get home late and I start late, and so I'm up late, and I have the a related issues with being a sleepy Aaron who's trying to sit here and say something semi-coherent. And I had some ideas. And then, something happened that we kind of knew was coming. And there's a lot going on in the world. Syria's had a regime change. Assad's out, been replaced by ISIS. Same assholes that we were fighting in Afghanistan. Now Biden is vowing to send them money to rebuild their government now that it's been overthrown by people that we were fighting for the last 20 fucking years. So if you have any doubts left in your mind of how fucked this regime is and how just beholden to the war machine it is, you really haven't been paying fucking attention. You're a smooth brain fuck. I don't know how you found the show because you're not the kind of person that usually listens to me. This should be coming as a surprise to none. And, Biden issued the pardon for Hunter that he swore up and down he was never going to do it. Everybody knew he was going to fucking do it. And I'm not even mad that he did it, although basically by pardoning Hunter with literally the most grand sweeping pardon that has ever been issued by a president, it encompasses 10 years, covering his time back to when he was on the board of Burisma and all that shit going on with Ukraine and all the potential corruption that could be fucking Joe over too. So Biden basically gave himself a pardon in the process. But anyway, there's all this stuff going on, and that's great. I'm not a news show. I'm a Aaron thinking about shit show. So if you want news, go listen to Whiskey Hell. Go listen to Rogan. He puts out good interviews lately. I guess he's always done really good. That's why he's the most popular, most successful podcaster in the history of podcasts. So I'm not trying to fault the guy. He's not always been my cup of tea. The long form 3-hour format has not always sat well with me. If it's not somebody I'm interested in, I'm not that interested in Joe Rogan himself to listen to episodes that don't have guests I want to hear something from or a topic that I actually have some interest in. And that's just me. I'm kind of the same way with like Tucker Carlson's show. I'm not a huge Tucker Carlson fan in and of itself, although I do respect him a lot more since he left Fox and went out on his own and is doing his own thing. But if he's not interviewing somebody I find particularly interesting, I'm not going out of my way to invest my listening credits in him. I'm going to put it on people that I'm more interested in supporting, more, smaller people that would actually appreciate the ears and actually recognize that, hey, I exist. I'm not just another number. I forgot where I was going with this. But anyway, so as I'm doing this Monday night, for anyone who's been living under a rock, the Daniel Penny case in New York, the verdict was out today. And honestly, anybody with a modicum of common sense knows there never should have been a fucking trial in the first place. Just the Cliff Notes version, if you don't know what was going on, you were living under a rock, you've been avoiding the news, whatever. There was a guy named Jordan Neely, young guy, black guy, career criminal, drug addict, homeless, just basically piece of shit. He had been previously arrested 42 times, including a violent assault against someone on a subway in New York, against a woman, a 67-year-old woman. He punched in the face for really no apparent reason on a fucking subway. When she was getting off the train, he hit her in the face. Had been arrested 42 fucking times. Was out on the street because as a condition of his last arrest, he was checked into a rehab facility that he left after 13 days. So he was homeless by choice because he'd rather do drugs than get clean and get his shit together. This guy was a fucking scumbag. Tense is important in this case because he's fucking dead. He died after getting on a subway, threatening people on the subway, being loud and hostile towards people on the subway, so literally saying, someone is going to die on this train today. I don't care if I go back to jail. Those were his statements on the train, and he was restrained by a former Marine named Daniel Penny. The guy, big, tall, blonde-haired white dude. And this all comes into play because, of course, since it was a white guy, he has to be racist and all this other shit for restraining. And bear in mind, he restrained the guy. Jordan Neely he put him in an armbar chokehold from behind and restrained him until the cops could be brought into the equation. And there were other people involved in trying to restrain him on the train too, by the way. It's not like it was just Daniel Penny, but Daniel Penny's the one who put the primary armbar around his neck and basically choked him out till he stopped fighting and threatening people. And then he died. It's a fucking shame. But here's the first thing that, every mainstream media outlet and every fucking race-baiting, shuck and jive asshole out there leaves out of the story is he didn't die while he was in the chokehold. He died like 10 minutes later while he was in police custody because he coded, because he was disgusting and filthy and dirty and on drugs, and the cops didn't want to give him CPR because they were afraid they'd catch something. Now, the part of that goes into the whole defunding the police. They don't have the proper equipment to do a non-contact CPR to a fucking junkie who's coding on a fucking train platform because he was on a lot of fucking drugs. He was actually high when he got on the train. Based on, and he was, according to the autopsy reports, had synthetic marijuana in his system, amongst other things. Now, I haven't seen the full, the full toxology report, but yeah, the guy fucking coded because he was on drugs. He was still breathing when Daniel Penny released the chokehold that was on him. He didn't have any signs of damage to his trachea. There was no trauma to that was indicative that he was choked to death. He coded because he was high as shit and his body gave out on him. Well, so since Daniel Penny's a big blonde white dude, he gets arrested, gets charged with manslaughter and criminally negligent death due to criminal negligence or something like that. I forgot. Again, it's late. I'm tired. I should know this, but I don't. But so, yeah, Daniel Penny goes to trial. Meanwhile, the race baiters and the assholes are out here talking about how, if the roles were reversed and it was a black man that did this to a white man, he'd be under the jail. Da, 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 da. And meanwhile, you go back a year to 2023. What the fuck was that guy's name? I'm blanking out again. There was a black man who was riding a train in New York, and he stabbed a fucking guy because the guy was getting aggressive towards his girlfriend, and he wasn't even charged with anything. He was immediately let go like an hour after the cops showed up. He was taken out of the station for questioning and immediately released. No charges were ever filed against him because it was a black guy that stabbed another black guy. No media outcry, no story. If it wasn't for the fact that he decided to open his mouth saying Daniel Penny should be in prison for killing a black man, nobody'd probably even know the fucking guy existed. But, he does. So, anyway, Daniel Penny gets acquitted. Mainstream media is just... these are professional people. If you hate the media, you don't hate them fucking enough. I don't care if you think you do. You don't. They are deliberately phrasing things in such a way as to be inflammatory and to be trying to paint it as if he got away with murder. He didn't get away with murder. He restrained somebody. The guy fucking coded due to no impact from him. He was released. He should have been released because he was acting in the defense of everybody else on the train car because this multiple violent felon was saying he was going to fucking kill someone. He acted to defend the rest of the people on that car. The people on that car wanted, not a single one of them said he behaved in a manner that was out of line, that he did anything wrong. And yet the left is having a fucking meltdown over this. BLM has dusted their musty asses off and trying to come out of the ashes. I don't know if the fucking Floyd money ran out, if they need to upgrade their fucking mansions, but these fucking race baiting assholes have showed up. The founder of the BLM New York chapter has been out here actively, A, trying to call it a murder, which it fucking wasn't, and B, saying things like they should riot because he was acquitted. A jury found him innocent of murder, so it must be white supremacy. It must be racism because he killed a black man, and it was murder. It was the Klan scored a win. This motherfucker literally said this shit. It's not like I'm making it up. It's not hyperbole. He literally said it was a win for the KKK. Nobody gives a fuck about the KKK anymore. The KKK isn't relevant to anybody except race-baiting fucking lazy assholes who don't want to get real jobs. They just want to go out there and stir shit up and play victim and cry poor me about how unfair it is that they can't get a free ride out of life because every white person must get an easy fucking break. You know what? My bank account, my credit report, and my car will tell you fucking differently. Just being white is not a free pass, you lazy sack of shit. But I digress. That wasn't the point of this. The point is, so the BLM founder of the New York chapter and the original BLM founder, who's now also on board with this, after the verdict was announced, are out here talking about, well, black men should start, being vigilantes too, and if they see, if they want to choke us for getting loud, we should do the same to them. But first off, the motherfucker wasn't choked for getting loud. The media tried painting this fucking multiple felon as just some homeless guy who was down on his luck, and he did Michael Jackson impersonations to entertain people and earn money as a homeless person, as he's a street entertainer. No, he was a violent fucking criminal who was a drug addict with a long record of being a violent fucking criminal. The fact that there's a picture that showed up from 10 years ago of him dancing around in a Michael Jackson outfit doesn't make him a good fucking person. The fact that he's a black guy doesn't automatically make him somehow worth more, because obviously they only care because a white guy was involved in this poor fucking junkie dying. So it must be racism because, the black guy died. Oh my God. Not the fact that he was a violent criminal with a track record of being fucking unstable on drugs and homeless. It was because he was choked out by a white guy. And of course the grifter's gonna grift. So they come out and they put out this fucking statement, and they have, the founder of BLM New York saying black men should be vigilantes against white men for doing this and blah, blah, blah. And then you have the BLM founder saying there's no justice. He got away with murder. It's a score for racism everywhere. There were 4 people of color on the fucking jury. And not to mention all the witnesses from the train car who also happen to be predominantly black were all saying he was a hero. He saved people's lives. So you have the same old bullshit. You have these grifting assholes who want to come out, ignore the facts behind a person's death because it happened to be a white person and a black person involved in the confrontation. And they want to try and scream about, oh, he's a murderer. He got away with murder. America doesn't care about black people and all this other horse shit. And meanwhile, you got this guy's deadbeat father who hadn't seen his kid in over 10 years coming out crying on camera about how, it's justice and we got to do something. This motherfucker is only out for a fucking check. If he actually cared about his son, this kid wouldn't have been homeless on the streets. He wouldn't have been arrested 45 times, and he wouldn't have been killed because he would have had a loving, supporting family that raised him to not be a criminal piece of shit. But no, you got some deadbeat dad piece of shit showing up looking to get a fucking handout either from the state or from white people in general. Because Lord knows the fucking leftist white guilt-having motherfuckers are going to be out there starting a GoFundMe to give his dad money for being a worthless deadbeat father, raising a failed human being that died because of his own fucking actions. Oh, look, knock, knock, who's there? It's consequences, you dumb piece of shit. And, yeah, and it's going to be happening. The leftist BLM movement has already taken to the streets tonight in New York, and we'll see if it gets carried away. I really don't think it's going to get national traction this time. Too many people are just too busy trying to fucking survive this horse shit. And I really think BLM ran out of traction. They ran out of steam. Camel Toe's still $20 million in debt from losing her campaign, so she's not going to be bailing anybody out anytime soon for this one. So it's kind of more like, is it going to be on with Soros going to be out there dropping pallets of bricks again? Is it going to be a case of Are these protests going to be mostly peaceful, or are they going to pick up some steam? Or are we going to see, a relapse of what happened in 2020? I don't think it's going to work this time. I think the American population in general is fucking fed up. They're tired of the fucking grifting. They're tired of the race baiting. They're tired of the divisive assholes who really bring nothing to the table, but they still want to push for this shit. And it's kind of like I said during the Floyd riots. All these motherfuckers, the politicians, including like Jasmine Crockett's fucking retarded DEI bad wig wearing ass, that hood rat piece of shit's out here talking about, oh, the man who murdered, his life had value. He deserved, Jordan Neely deserved a chance to live, and the man who murdered him walked free today. Bitch, he wasn't murdered. He died. There's a difference. You don't know the difference because you're a stupid piece of shit, and how you DEI'd your way into a congressional seat is fucking mystifying to me, because every time you open your mouth, you expose yourself as the ignorant trash that you are. And I realistically hope something really bad happens to her. Not like that anybody goes out of their way to actually cause harm to the bitch, because I'd hate to see a decent human being lose their life or their freedom in the names of punishing that worthless cunt for being the sack of shit she is. But I really hope karma does something bad to her. I hope her fucking wigs get crabs. I hope she fucking gets a UTI. I hope she gets a paper cut in the fucking corner of her mouth. I hope bad things happen to her that are not really going to end her life, but just make her miserable for the rest of her natural fucking days, because that's what she deserves. Karma needs to kick her right in the fucking clam. But yeah, so the fucking BLM leftist white guilt motherfuckers are taking to the streets in New York. And it's going to be more of the same old, same old. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be nearly as well financed this time. And I really think the general population of people are done putting up with this shit. I don't think it's going to go well for them, particularly these calls for vigilantism against white people. I mean, yeah, in New York, it might work. So maybe this asshole's a little delusional because he lives in one of those states where, yeah, only the criminals have guns. But in a lot of places, like, you know, I live close enough to Chicago and I work close enough to Chicago where I have to be concerned about these things and where there might be some overspill. Now, the Floyd riots never made it to where I live because, honestly, it wouldn't have gone the way that anybody from the city would have thought it did. I guarantee there'd be a lot of dead motherfuckers. And good old boys with backhoes are going to fucking clean that shit up. And county sheriffs in like I said, once you get outside of a couple of counties in Illinois, this is a red fucking state. And it got redder the last election. People are fed up. They are tired. And if you leave Cook County, you take your life into your own fucking hands if you head to the fucking more rural areas with any intent to do harm to the people that live there. They're done. They're tired. They're exhausted. They're tired of your shit, and they're not going to put up with it. And I'm saying this as somebody, yes, I have a permit. I carry concealed. I carry every fucking day. EDC, everyday carry. Those words, you know it, love it, live it. That's what you should be doing. I don't leave the house without a gun, a knife, a lighter, and my wallet. That's, pretty much my routine at this point. Now, when things like this start happening, my routine is I throw out a couple extra spare mags into my work bag, so I'm not caught short. And I might start throwing a backup piece in there too, just to err on the side of caution. But I don't really foresee there being a problem that makes it to where I am. It doesn't mean I'm not going to be prepared if there is, but I don't anticipate there being any issues. But I do, and I've said it before, I do believe everyone should own a firearm, be proficient in its use and maintenance. At least one. I mean, I wish I could be one of those, like, I follow a couple people on X, the gun influencers that have tens of guns, if not more, hundreds. I mean, a couple guys I follow, they got massive collections, and I'm like, I want to be you. I'm jealous. I wish I lived the kind of life where I could afford to spend that kind of money on guns. And a couple of them are even monetized on X to the point where the haters and the trolls pay for their gun collections, and more power to them. Again, I don't get the interaction to monetize on X, but it would be great if I did. Who knows? Maybe someday I'll go viral, I'll say the right thing and piss off the right people, and all of a sudden I'll have a huge following of haters that buy me shit through their hate. It would be a wonderful thing. But I digress. Yeah, so like I said, I don't see the BLM. They fucked themselves. They really did. They got exposed for the fucking grifting pieces of shit they were when it came out that they took all those millions of dollars they raised and bought themselves mansions and cars and gave their family and their friends and their significant others jobs and ridiculous salaries for doing fuck all besides being a bunch of grifting pieces of shit. Meanwhile, the street level average motherfuckers were, granted, the Biden justice system dismissed something like 20,000 charges in relation to the Summer of Love, as opposed to all the J6ers who were hunted down for taking their unguided tour, because a lot of insurrectionists respect the velvet ropes. It's obvious they were horrible fucking people. And they've been rotting in jail for years at this point, in some cases. Some people just lost their freedoms and their jobs and their livelihoods and, their friends, their family, just the little stuff. I mean, that's the biggest difference between the spineless right and the fucking just ruthless shit-stained leftards is they actively try and ruin the lives of people who don't agree with them, and the right just doesn't play the same degree of hardball. But those of us that live in the middle are really kind of getting fed up. I mean, anybody that knows me knows I'm fed up with both sides, and I have been for years. But the more centrist people that are coming around to the whole, like, yeah, the right's a bunch of spineless fucktards and they're a bunch of idiots and sanctimonious pricks, but these leftist shitheads are destructive and they are bad for the fucking world. I mean, even the climate Nazis are fucking bad for society. They're bad for the race, the human race. They're bad for the population of the planet. And they're, kind of used to running around unchecked, but that I think normal people are starting to wake up and realize if they don't do something about it, nothing is going to be done because this is exactly what the people in power want. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of riots over this shit. I mean, now, don't get me wrong. BLM is trying to kick this shit off into George Floyd Mark II. They found a new dead junkie that they want to fucking rally behind to try and get money. And that's what it is. They're going to tell people to go out there and show their ass, loot, burn, riot, start attacking white people. And there will be people that feel emboldened enough to do it, and they're going to think it's justified because in their smooth-brained little fucking idiot view of the world, they think that they deserve the right to go out there and fuck shit up because black guy dead, white guy not in jail. And if you want to look at things on those terms, they shouldn't have done that shit for Floyd because Chauvin didn't get a fair trial, because if they got a fair trial, he wouldn't be in jail either because George Floyd OD'd. I don't give a fuck how you feel about it. That's the fucking truth. That's what the medical report says. You know, all the assholes who were saying trust the science about fucking getting the jab don't want to trust the science when it tells you why somebody fucking died. When you had 40 times the lethal dose of fentanyl in your system, yeah, you're gonna fucking die. It doesn't make you a victim. It doesn't make you a martyr for a cause. It makes you a dead junkie. It's not a complicated concept. It's a really simple concept. It's just people are too fucking stupid to grasp simple concepts nowadays. They look for depth and meaning where there is none because they themselves lack depth and meaning. It's a really pathetic state of being, and it's frustrating to me. It really is just such a shame that we have reached a point where these dumb fucks feel confident enough and self-righteous enough. They're going to go out there and try and enforce their beliefs at, you know, the proverbial barrel of a gun, or in some cases, the literal barrel of a gun, which is I'm just going to touch on real briefly on something else that happened here this past week, where we had the CEO of the largest insurance firm in the country that is responsible for 33% of the declines of service. So a lot of stuff has come into this. He was assassinated. He was gunned down in front of his hotel. He was shot 3 times, caught on video by somebody who it looks like had a home printed gun and a home printed suppressor, and wasn't super familiar with how things were going to work because the suppressor didn't work right, or the ammunition was like homemade subsonic, and for multiple reasons had to cycle the pistol manually every time between the 3 shots that went into the CEO and killed him. And conveniently enough, a couple days later, the person of interest was found in a McDonald's, reported by the McDonald's cashier to the FBI tip line, and allegedly presented a fake ID to the cops and was arrested. And when they arrested him, they found a 3D printed gun that matched the description of the gun used in the crime, with a 3D printed silencer and a bunch of fake IDs and a bunch of cash, and he was getting ready to flee. And it's really kind of weird, the amount of information that came out about this asshole in literally the span of a day, because like we've got no information on the guy that got killed taking shots at Trump, and it's been months. We know everything about this motherfucker. We know where he went to high school. We know the fact that he was a valedictorian. We know the fact that he went to an Ivy League school and dropped out. He has a manifesto. He's gone online and highlighted passages from Ted Kaczynski's book and left glowing reviews on quotes from Uncle Teddy, and just all ridiculous amounts of shit. It just reeks of a fucking setup in my mind, because I don't trust anything anymore, particularly not when the feds come out and say, oh, look, we got the guy. And meanwhile, the CEO who got gunned down was under investigation and was being indicted for a bunch of stuff, was very close ties with Nancy Pelosi. A lot of really suspect shit going on here, where it's really convenient they found a shooter that all of a sudden has a manifesto and a bunch of guns and they know everything about him, like within a couple of days, because they coincidentally found him just out having lunch in a McDonald's. Yeah, with all the evidence on him, they needed to just throw the book at him and say, look, we caught him conclusively. And if you still trust the feds at this point, I don't know what to tell you. You need to wake up. It's not a good look. It's not an adult way to view the world if you're blindly trusting people that have been proven time and time again to be lying to you and be doing things that are acting against your best interests in the name of their best interests, and when they're supposed to be public servants that are literally only serve themselves. The whole bureaucratic system and all the fighting going against Trump and his appointees and all this other stuff that's going on, and it's just the deep state struggling to maintain its grip on power. And then shit like this happens, and oh, how convenient. Oh, look, we did really good. And I was like, no, you motherfuckers are still terrible. You don't understand. You lost the narrative. You lost the people. Nobody has faith in you anymore. It doesn't matter what you do. Nobody's going to believe it. Nobody's going to applaud you. You're not going to get lauded for doing the right thing. Because even if there are good, and I'm sure there are good feds out there. I'm sure there are people that got in there with the best of intentions. They want to protect their country. They want to serve their population. They want to protect people. They want to save people. But you work for a corrupt industry. You work for a corrupt organization that has lost the faith of the people it's supposed to serve. So you're no longer a servant. You're a fucking corrupt piece of shit, even if it's just by association. If you need an example of how out of touch these people are, one of the biggest things that's coming through is with like a lot of Trump's appointments that have been coming up with, whether it be the Secretary of Defense, Pete Higgs, I can't say his name, or Kash Patel being appointed as the director of the FBI. We've got all these like people, DEI departments, like literally entire departments of bureaucratic parasites. DEI department, the entire DEI division of the military has basically threatened to resign if Pete is appointed as the Secretary of Defense. Good. Fucking go. These people are so delusional, so disconnected from reality, and so filled with self-importance that they can't fathom the idea that nobody gives a shit if they resign. That's what the people who voted for Trump to put this agenda in place want. They want you out of office. They want you out of your jobs. They want you off the fucking government teat. So threatening to resign if certain people get appointed is literally only a threat to the people who stand to benefit from the system not being changed. You're not gonna get popular support. You're not gonna get public backing with this bullshit because you are the problem. And these people are so disconnected from reality, they don't seem to understand that. They don't have the popular mandate saying, oh no, we want to keep these people. Don't let them resign. Motherfucker, resign. Then you can't claim unemployment either. So you're completely off the government teat. You voluntarily separated yourself from your employment. Subsequently, you are no longer eligible for unemployment insurance. You are fucked. So please, by all means, step the fuck down and step the fuck on. Go find a real job, you fucking parasitic sets of shit. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to mourn your loss. You're not critical to the functioning of anything, particularly not if you're in like the DEI division where your entire job is to make sure DEI is enforced and fucking up the rest of the system. Those people, I couldn't care if they fucking, go fuck yourself with a sandpaper dildo. If you think you're that fucking important that the world won't continue to move on without you, you're a delusional fucktard. Particularly if you're some low-level bureaucrat where literally all you do is sit around all day trying to figure out how to fuck up things so they don't work well because then you are necessary. When you're in the entire justification for your job's existence is that it helps your job exist, you're worthless and you need to be fucking replaced or gotten rid of completely. I tend to lean to the Ron Paul definition of like, get rid of the IRS, remove the IRS, and what do you replace it with? Fucking nothing. Allow the government to shrink because it's funded voluntarily. Allow the government to survive on tariffs and voluntary donations and sell war bonds if you want to fucking feed the war machine. Don't just take my money at the point of a gun. Tax my money. Tax everything I purchase. Tax everything I own. Make me tax anything I sell to pay you sales tax, and then you'll set, prime example, I got a new vehicle. Not a new car, but new to me car. I had to pay to transfer the title, the license, to buy the plates, to pay taxes on the purchase of the vehicle. Now, the people I bought the vehicle from will pay taxes on the money they made selling that vehicle to me. So I pay usage tax to buy the vehicle. They pay sales tax for selling the vehicle. I have to pay annual taxes to renew my license plate sticker. I have to pay for the license plates themselves. I have to pay for the title and the registration with money that I've already been taxed on prior to earning it. And these assholes somehow think people are going to feel bad for them because they're losing their jobs. The creature, the blob, the fucking entity that exists purely as a parasitic entity seems to expect sympathy from its fucking host, the host that it's gradually fucking killing. So it's a disconnect. It's a detach. These people are unrealistic. They have no fucking idea how the real world works. They are self-important twat waffles, and they all need to fucking go. And I got no kindness. I have no empathy for these people. If you willingly got into this line of work where you knowingly became a bureaucratic sack of shit, then I don't feel bad that you're losing your job. Get out there, learn to fucking cook, learn to fucking code, learn to fucking drill a well, learn to do something that contributes to society. Stop being a fucking parasitic sack of shit. Get a real job. Fucking pieces of shit. Anyway, I guess that's a lot of ranting out of me. For now, that's what I had to say. Thanks for listening to another episode, guys. If you liked what you heard, leave a comment, leave a review, leave a rating. Go to ihadtosayitpodcast.com, sign up for the mailing list, interact with the show. Click the links, sign up for the Patreon, join the Discord. Come and interact, be a part of the show. Buy the merch, support your favorite creator, or support me. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Till next time.